Hey, good morning, everybody. Hope you are having an exceptional day, an extraordinary day. We're going to talk about living an extraordinary life this morning. I'm excited to be here. And as a reminder, I just want you to remember October 19th and 20th is the Multifamily Summit, my annual virtual event. It's coming up. It's going to be 2 full days, action packed all day long, no breaks, no time for lunch. We're going to move from speaker to speaker, filled with content, filled with excitement, a lot of networking, a lot of ability to exchange information and to ask questions. We're going to have brand new people who have just gotten started in the real estate business, in the multifamily investing business. We're going to have high performers who've done tens of billions of dollars in transactions over the last several years. We're going to talk about self-directed IRAs and 1031s. We're going to talk about ADUs. So it is going to be an action-packed couple of days. You're not going to want to miss this event. Get registered right now. Go to Multifamily 23. That's the number 23, multifamily23.com. You'll be able to see the schedule, the speaker lineup, everything that you're going to be able to participate in. We have some free giveaways, things for you that you're going to be able to grab hold of. It's going to be filled with knowledge, excitement, and time to grow your real estate multifamily business. You know, a lot of people are talking right now about what a downturn it is in the market and to be cautious, you know, and I agree, be cautious, but don't sit on the sidelines. Take action. Part of your action is education. Get educated, learn what you need to learn and how to be able to mitigate this market. That's where you're going to grow. Okay, if you're new to the show, thanks for being here this morning. Do me a favor, please. If you're on YouTube this morning, please smash the subscribe button. Follow us. We're always bringing out great new relevant content. Like us, love us on social media, wherever you hang out. LinkedIn, follow us. You're going to continue to see great content, great speakers, good information that's going to take you to the next level. You know, I probably give away about 80%, 85% of the knowledge I have, the things that I have. And I give that away for free for you to be able to grow and prosper in your business and in your life. If I can ever answer any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Okay, let me talk about my guest this morning. I'm excited. Jason Safford, longtime friend. Jason and I met a couple of years ago, and he coached me for about a year, maybe a little more than a year. And he really helped me along. Many of you know that I've had some challenges over the last decade, had a lot of time out of the business, spent some time in federal prison. And Jason, when I came out, was gracious enough to work with me and help me and kind of get me on track. So I'm excited about talking with him this morning. Jason is from Forest Hills, New York. He's a coach. He's an entrepreneur. He's a real estate investor. He's a man of knowledge, and we are going to talk about how do we live an extraordinary life no matter what happens. Jason, what's up, brother?
Hey, Mike, great to be here. Great to see you, and love to be a part of what you're doing here and be able to talk to your audience.
Love the UFC shirt, man, the Ultimate Fitness Challenge.
Yep.
You are
coaching to another level.
Yeah, I guess. We've gone from mindset to physical mindset, which is pretty awesome.
Right. Aligning the body and mind together.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, man, it's good to see you. I know we've been trying to do this for a while, so I'm excited about things to come for you and I. Hey, let me ask you a question. I ask all my guests at the beginning of the show, but in one word, what best describes you personally and professionally?
One word I would have to say is resilience.
Resilience.
Yes.
Tell me why, Jason.
Okay. So my story actually is fascinating from a number of different facets. The first is that I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, at a time when integration was really just beginning. And I like to say to everybody that I'm not a Gen Xer, I'm a part of the integration generation. So that in itself
Okay.
is one thing that I like to do, say to separate myself from a lot of other people. The second is that as an entrepreneur, I went into business at a very unique time, right before 2000. So in 1999, 2000, I'd actually been an entrepreneur before, but in terms of my first real venture, where I went out to raise money, it was in that unique time period of 1999, 2000. And for those of us who remember that time, Prince and the song 1999, the whole, year 2K, Y2K thing was going on. And I was a technology kid. Um, and being able to come up with an idea at that time and try to, build a business plan and raise money for it was very different than it is today. People, were throwing money at computer ideas, technology ideas that were connected to the internet. And I tried to take advantage of that being on the back end. So all of the venture capital that had been in the web space from the mid 90s was now beginning to dry up. And I was able to successfully attract some investors, specifically around the idea of putting content online from unnamed artists, supporting the artist community in a way that at that time did not exist. There were no smartphones. Web pages were very, very blocky and hard to load. And we had come up with our own technological advances, as well as just an idea of infrastructure to support the creative community as a whole. Unfortunately, 9/11 happened, and I was actually supposed to be in the building completing a deal to consummate the infrastructure of the company with a large law firm called Cantor Fitzgerald. That didn't happen, obviously, because of 9/11. And so therefore, my company really never got off the ground because of that incident. And I shifted. I went into real estate right away. And my reason for doing so wasn't for profit. It was because I saw all the displaced people in downtown Manhattan, and I wanted to give them a better quality of life. I wanted to do something. I wanted to be a part of the solution. I wasn't about to join the military and go overseas. I knew that wasn't my pathway. So as an entrepreneur, I wanted to come up with a solution for people who were really disenfranchised in a way because of their loss of their homes and their jobs and everything else in downtown Manhattan, and wanting to contribute in some valuable way. I saw the opportunity with green and solar and wind and renewable energy to be able to do something unique in the Brooklyn market at that time. So I wound up with a business partner who was 20, almost 30 years older than me, actually. He was a Jamaican immigrant who had worked for Pfizer for 33 years, had a distinguished career, and he saw the opportunity. We were great friends. He was a coach himself. He had been a soccer coach for young kids, brought them up through the ranks, and a lot of them had gone on to play for the U.S. Olympic team. Some of them went pro. So I had the opportunity to partner with this gentleman, and our focus was on changing the quality of life for people through real estate. So we called ourselves a green development company, which at that time in 2001 was totally off the charts. Nobody understood green. It didn't really exist. And we were pioneering this industry in a lot of ways. We were talking to a lot of, groundbreaking technology companies, a lot of scientists and engineers about how we could bring together technology with really old real estate processes and build efficiencies that didn't exist. Ironically enough, a lot of these things now exist 20 years later, but at that time, we were just having conversations. So, figuring out how to build a successful company that was profitable was really the number one challenge within this idea of green and the environmental space. And really learning how real estate worked was my challenge because, again, I was coming from a technology background, and real estate as a physical financial asset was a very different concept from what I understood with technology. So we were very successful for the first couple of years. Ironically enough, we didn't actually go into Brooklyn because it was too financially difficult, and there were a lot of competitors. We wound up going into land development, and land development became our sweet spot in terms of planning and environmental development. But that also brought us into the multifamily space, ironically enough, because in rural areas, the opportunity existed where there were lots of multifamily properties that needed to be overhauled. And that then brought us into more suburban and urban spaces. So we worked from the outside in rather than the inside out, even though our original plan was to work inside urban communities, which was where I thought we would begin. But obviously, it was much more a challenge in terms of the financial roadblocks that we had to consider.
Awesome. Hey, one thing I really want to talk about this morning, is, I talk a lot about real estate, a lot about raising capital, a lot about multifamily, but, how do you live an extraordinary life? You and I have both been over a rocky road. We've had
Yeah.
challenges in our life. And in the midst, I think a lot of times people ask me, how do you get through? How did you get through it? How, what did you do different? And I think that it boils down to living that extraordinary life. And I know you're a coach. I know you've coached people. You've coached me. How do you teach people? And can you teach people to live an extraordinary life?
Absolutely. It's a great question. The answer actually lies within inside each one of us. As a coach, my privilege is being able to draw it out of you, just like I did with you, Mike, getting you to understand that everything that's exceptional about you comes from within. And a big part of it that people have difficulty understanding or grasping has to do with the amount of distraction they currently allow in their lives. So, being extraordinary, being exceptional, has a lot to do with eliminating the distraction around you. Being able to go inside yourself and find those positive qualities, those positive values that are most important for you to be able to make the biggest exceptional impact you can on other people and the world around you. So it boils down to being able to find that simple existence that makes you happy, being able to cultivate the best habits that are going to allow you to catapult forward in terms of your productivity for yourself as well as for the goals you have, and being able to make that impact on others with your service, that you eliminate all of the open loops of inefficiency, all of the lost energy. You eliminate all of that excess and become really good at executing your day the way that you want to enjoy. So you're taking time for yourself, but you're getting things done. You're giving time to other people that's valuable to them and doesn't take away from you. It sounds simple,
Right,
but it takes a lot of work to get
right.
there, as you well know. And we went through it a lot. in terms of understanding how to build processes that are focused on not just being efficient, but allowing you to tweak them continuously to improve that efficiency. Because
Yeah, I was just going to say it doesn't happen overnight, but
no,
it's step by step, right?
that's right.
One of the things that I think we both teach people is if you grow 1% a day, by the end of the year, you've grown 365%, right?
You got
Because
it.
looking forward or where you're at sometimes presently is it can be a tough spot, but when you look back and say, "Oh my gosh, I did this," or you use those past successes to fuel your future successes.
That's correct. And Mike, I want to correct you only because I think it's important for the wonky people that listen to this. But the 365% you improve is if you don't compound that interest.
Right.
But if
Right.
you're improving 1% every day and compounding that interest every day, you're actually improving 37 times or 3,700%, which is phenomenal. There's no other way to look at your ability to progress in terms of your overall life than to understand that 1% a day is 15 minutes.
Right.
So if you're taking 15 minutes every day to improve yourself in some area of your life, and you do that consistently for an entire year, you're a completely different person.
So
37 times better.
what could somebody do in that 15 minutes a day that would help them improve?
Great question, Mike. I'm going to give you 10 simple positive habits, and you can pick any one of these 10. But these 10 are what has helped me to not only live the extraordinary, exceptional life that you talk about, but really be able to transform in being able to help myself, my family, as well as other people. The first habit, the most important habit to me, is developing a primary mission. And that primary mission is something that you're going to continuously improve as long as you understand that the fundamental idea of it is something bigger than yourself for the rest of your life to pursue. So you're not interested in actually making it to the goal, although that's what you want. You're interested in improving towards that goal. So, for example, my primary mission in life is to end hunger and homelessness on this planet. And what does that mean? That means that everybody in the world should have housing and everybody in the world should have food and water without having to suffer for it.
Hmm.
It's that simple.
Yeah.
Okay? Big idea. If I'm lucky enough to see it achieved in my lifetime, I'll rest in peace, in happiness, knowing that that mission was accomplished. But do I concern myself with it being accomplished? No, I concern myself with improving my communication within myself as well as with other people to make sure that everything I'm doing is aligned with that bigger purpose in life. So when I get up in the morning to when I end my day at the end of the day, I get to ask myself, how did I help myself in this mission? I've got the distractions of family. I've got the distractions of work. I've got the distractions of my own hobbies and interests and projects. But how do they relate to this larger mission and being able to serve both the higher power as well as the planet in a valuable and useful way? So
That's
that's
a huge one.
fundamental number one. And you
So
can break the primary mission down into your daily goals. What is it that I need to accomplish today that's going to be most important in terms of getting to my next goal?
right. So listen,
So
give
yeah,
one more,
yeah,
and for people who want to get the other eight, they can reach out to you.
absolutely, absolutely. So I would say that the next, in terms of real value of the 10 habits, the next most important is eating well.
Mm.
And part of the privilege of choosing to become a, fitness coach was because during COVID, I coached so many people who were struggling with what to do and how to transform from the physical world to this virtual world where we're meeting like this. And one of their biggest problems was diet and exercise.
How about eating macro?
Well,
Was that an option for you too?
oh yeah, yeah, and that's what it is that learning how your body really works in terms of calorie consumption, digestion, and overall production. And now I actually coach and train athletes and people who just want to live a healthier lifestyle and get fit, and teaching them about macros and the amount of carbohydrates versus proteins and fats that you
How
should be
about
consuming.
how about intermittent fasting? Is that a reality?
Absolutely. Intermittent fasting is a fantastic way to balance your diet. And I want to make sure that people understand you shouldn't be doing it every day. Intermittent fasting is something that you insert on certain days based on your productivity. So on days where you don't need to be as physically active, the opportunity to fast is a great opportunity, and it helps clean out all the toxins in your body. But if you're going to be very active, for example, yesterday I had a 12-hour day of serving people, in the gym. The last thing I want to do is not eat all day because, again, I'm using the energy from before in terms of, what I have in my body. And if I don't feed myself on a 12-hour day, what am I going to have for the next day to be able to produce?
Right.
So it's one of those things where if I was sitting at home, not doing anything and talking all day, the opportunity to fast is far more pertinent.
So there's for years and years we've heard the talk that sugar's in everything, and
Yeah.
sugar is one of the biggest addictive things in the world, as well as one of the big killers, right?
Yeah.
How do you watch that? I mean, sugar's in bread, it's in ketchup, it's in barbecue sauce. I mean, you know, how do you mitigate your way through that?
Right. That's another great question. And the first thing to do is to recognize your real enemies. So time is your number one enemy in life, okay? Because you're only given so much time. If you look at sugar and salt as enemies in your diet, it doesn't mean that you can't enjoy them. What it means is you have to recognize that they're being used by everybody else in terms of the food industry to make it difficult for you to choose otherwise because they want you to buy their products. So they put sugar and salt in everything.
So is organic a fallacy?
Well, the ironic twist to me about organic is there anything that you eat that's inorganic? We have to eat everything that's organic, right? It's not like we're trying to eat rocks and sand as our diet. So I think the misnomer about organic is what is the real benefit to something that's grown holistically versus something that's produced in a facility. And we use cows as the biggest example of, if cows are grass fed versus if they're, farm raised, there's a difference in terms of the value of their meat that's sold. And to a certain extent, that's probably true. Mass production of meat is probably really unhealthy. But when it comes to how grass is grown, whether or not you use certain fertilizers or, GMOs in terms of, you know, a lot of that science, again, is arguable because what it's doing to the human body and what the human body has been able to do with, vegetables, in other words, plant life. We were built to be able to consume plants of any kind. And historically, you think about prior to modern civilization, how did humans determine what was poisonous or not in terms of plants? They ate it. And if it made them sick, they didn't eat it again. But if, it made them feel good, obviously they remembered that and they kept those plants in their library in their brains because they hadn't written anything down. But they knew how to determine what was healthy and what was not. Everything has become so convenient in modern life. Our problem is we rely on all of these other industry experts and government experts to tell us, rather than determining for ourselves and our body, listening to our body.
Yep.
What is good for me? What is not good for me? And so going back to making sugar and salts your enemies, once you realize that healthy food, eating more fruits and vegetables and nuts, because our body was meant to process those. It was designed to take things that were grown from the earth, picked off of trees and vines. When we consume those and it makes us feel better and we don't have the lag and the slothfulness or the sleepiness or tiredness, fatigue, all of those things that are detriments to our productivity, then we say, oh, well, this is a better diet for us.
Yeah.
Now we can determine things without other people's interference in terms of what's important for our consumption.
Yep. Hey, I want to ask you, how did you get, were you a UFC fan before you went away, or was that a Friday, Saturday night deal that got you hooked in the TV?
Yeah, so it's a great question. So as a kid, I did love martial arts and wrestling. I was into, before it was called WWE, it was the WWF with Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant, those guys. And I was a Bruce Lee fan as a kid growing up. I was also a boxing fan. So all of those things were an impetus. But my reason for joining UFC as a coach had more to do with executives that I was coaching online. And their excuses for not having an active, healthy lifestyle, being so caught up in their business as owners and CEOs running, and their leadership being about telling people what to do. And I called bull, especially during COVID. And what people began to realize about living an exceptional life was the more you stripped away all of the facade of power that we think we have as executives, and we really look at what we're doing for ourselves and becoming models for the people around us that work for us and work with us. We're warriors, we're fighters, and we have to lead the battle. And our physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health are all tied together in this daily fight with the idea of success, number one, but really the idea of maintaining our youth and our vibrance. Because as we get older, we take so many things for granted that we did when we were in our 20s and 30s. And being able to expand and lengthen the play span of our lives so we can be young and vibrant in our 70s and 80s. For me, becoming a physical fitness coach, in addition to being a business coach and a life coach, I looked at the different gyms and the different companies that were out there, and I loved the UFC brand being about fighting and being about warriors and having this level of intensity, as well as the fact that we're not called trainers, we're called coaches. And we're really coaching the people in the gym to understand that, hey, coming to a gym is great, but in terms of having a real plan and being focused on your purpose with this gym, you need a coach. Yeah. And I love that idea. And I love being able to work with people on building out these real plans. Because remember, I was doing that with you and with other with other people as a coach, showing them how to spend time in their business where they carved out specific actions for themselves and specific objectives, making these little goals within the bigger goals, and really getting smart about how you planned out your objectives with getting to the end goal that you really had as a mission. So it's very similar. And then on top of that is the fact that because I'm almost 50, I'm not that far behind you.
You're still a youngster.
In terms of a lifestyle, I like the fact that mixed martial arts is something that you could be doing in your 70s and 80s.
Hey, when's your
and
fight?
I'm not taking away from golf, but it's just the fact that it's more competitive.
When's your fight?
That's a great question because, ironically enough, one of my real philanthropic loves is a charity called the Fight for Charity. And I'm going to tell you real quickly, it's here in Long Island. It's something that takes place every November. I am involved on the fringes this year because obviously I'm just getting back into it with UFC, and hopefully we can figure out some arrangement between them and the Fight for Charity. But going forward, you probably will see me fight in a match at the Fight for Charity next year and going forward, because we're raising money for struggling families on Long Island, getting kids who otherwise are not getting meals in school, their meals, getting cupboards filled for families that aren't able to buy groceries. It's an incredible.
You're muted, Jason. You're muted.
There was a distraction there.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, listen, I want to thank you for being here this morning. Just real quick on that Fight for Charity, they had it in Chicago this year. It was a boxing thing.
Yes.
And we went to it. It was awesome. So if it comes to your city, I know these guys that promote it and run it. It is an awesome event. Go to it and support that local charity. Jason, thanks for being here this morning. How do people reach you? How do they connect with you?
Yeah. Coach J Safford at Gmail is the easiest way you can email me. I am online. Instagram is Green Mind Excalibur. Excalibur is XCALIBUR, so Green Mind Excalibur. Otherwise, on Facebook and LinkedIn, I'm Jason Safford. I'm the original Jason Safford.1 on Facebook, and otherwise just Jason Safford on LinkedIn. Mike, this was awesome. Always a pleasure. Congratulations with everything you're doing, the virtual conference. I remember when we started the idea, just talking about it. So I'm really proud of you. And, to all of your listeners, I encourage everyone, if you have not had the opportunity to get coached by Mike, obviously I was his coach. I can speak to how awesome he is as a person. And I'm delighted to be on your show and be able to talk to your listeners.
Well, what's funny is coaching goes both ways. It's not just one way, and it does go both ways. And, when we engaged, you said, you coach me about this, I'll coach you about that. And kind of, have just developed that relationship from there. Hey, I want to thank you again. Thanks, everybody, for being here this morning. We're here every Thursday morning for a short blast of some energy and some knowledge. I hope you gained a couple of things this morning. If you didn't, you might want to go back and listen in because Jason dropped some bombs. Remember, he's got 8 more topics to share with you if you want to reach out to him and grab hold of those. And if you're coming to the summit, get registered today because those seats are selling out fast. It's going to be a big event this year. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day. Be intentional.